Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm glad you could join us. Later on, I'm going to be exploring the wonderful Song of Mary, and we look at Wesley Mission's work to support youth at risk. And we meet a man who's passionate to see the life and ministry of Jesus Christ reignited in the hearts of Christians. Now, we face the fact that for many of us, we're passionate, but we're unsure how we can reach out to the broken and those on the margins of our community. We may well avoid opportunities to love others because we fear rejection or even retaliation. Mick Duncan has lived and worked in the poorest of communities. Challenged about how to embrace forgotten members of our society close to home, Michael has written a book called Alongside Us, Sitting with Those Who Sit Alone. Now Mick serves as a senior pastor with Manurewa Baptist Church in Auckland. Mick, it's a delight to have you on the show.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Look, first of all, let's explore what's an alongside-er.
Well, I mean, Keith, to be real, there are people in all of our worlds that everybody else dislikes. I mean, that's regrettable, but that's the reality. And when I thought about this, I thought that, when you meet someone that everybody else dislikes, the temptation is to be an outsider, not have anything to do with them. And then the other thing is that some people think, well, because I haven't been through what they've been through, I don't know how to have anything to do with them. Because I haven't been an insider, there's nothing I can do. So I thought, there's got to be another way without having to be an outsider, stay away, but we can't always be insiders, having gone through what they've gone through, but we can all be alongsiders. So we can get alongside people who everybody else dislikes. But that is no easy thing to do. And so what I've kind of discovered is that to be an alongsider demands that we be more than a friend, but less than a professional. In other words, when you think about friendship, it's all based on we like each other. But getting alongside someone that everybody else dislikes, you may dislike them as well, or you may discover why other people dislike them. And yeah.
Let me just then pick up on that and then tie it into your own story, because to some extent you're a survivor of a I'm told it's on the way back, incidentally, a hippie culture.
That's right.
That's on the way back at the moment. The VW vans might all be around, but you really are caught up in that, and you find yourself at the back of a VW van escaping a police raid.
Yeah, I was at a party and I was dealing and using Class A drugs, and then the men and boys and girls in blue, the police, they came into the party uninvited, and so they were trying to track us, and so I jumped into a VW van to escape their grip. And in the back of this van, there was a guy by the name of Paul, I think, and he was reading a little red book, and I said to him, "What the heck is that?" And he said to me, "Oh, it's a Gideon's Bible." And I was brought up in an irreligious home, so I said to him, "What the heck is that?" And he said, "Well, it's a Bible." And I said, "Well, can I read it?" So he chucked it over to me. And when you get a book for the very first time, you just open it wherever, and that's exactly what I did. And I read a certain page, and there was a list on this page. And the list said that, come the end of time, there will be people like haters of God. And I thought, yep, tick. Lovers of self, yep, tick. And I went through the list and I gave myself a tick on every single item. And I thought, not bad. But it was like passing a test. But when I had that kind of experience, I don't know how you explain this, but I came into this realization that actually there was something terribly wrong with me, that I was fundamentally flawed. It was like there was an assassin that lived inside of my skin bag that just wanted to take me out.
But your world was a different world than that. Come on, you went to a fancy school, a really top school. How did you get yourself in that mess?
When I was in my last year of school, I came home one night and there was no one at home. And I waited to 10 o'clock and still no one was at home. And I thought, well, stuff it, I'll go to bed. So I went to my bedroom and I pulled the cover off my bed, and as I did so, a white envelope fell to the floor, and it was a letter from my mother, and it just said, "Dear Michael, my marriage to my husband, your father, is now finito completo, it's done and dusted, it's over. He's gone somewhere, I've gone somewhere, your twin sister is somewhere else, your brother is gone somewhere else, I'm sorry you're home alone." Now, when I read that letter, I mean, we weren't particularly close as a family, but when I read that letter, I got hurt. And in that place of absolute hurtness, I thought, there's got to be right, wrong, true, false, good, bad.
Just hold it,
yeah.
because we're right at that point. I'm going to come straight back to that in just a moment. Because what we're going to do now is talk a little bit more with Mick in a moment about his book. But I want to introduce today's performer before we get into that story. Deborah Ezzie has been part of our Wesley Impact band since its very beginning. She's chosen a song that's one of her personal favourites. I hope you're going to enjoy Oh Rejoice.
As the angels sing, oh, glory be unto God. Born is the saving King. Oh, rejoice, rejoice, heaven sings tonight. Rejoice, the Lord is Still is the weary world, still, but for the humble praise. Hear as the shepherds sing, join as the drummer plays. Oh, rejoice, rejoice, heaven sings tonight. Rejoice, the Lord is come. Fall on your knees, oh men. Joy to the world this day. Here find ye the word as flesh. Here on a bed of hay. Oh, rejoice, rejoice, heaven sings tonight. Rejoice, the Lord is come. Oh, rejoice, rejoice, heaven sings tonight. Rejoice, the Lord is come.
Be inspired by Keith Garner's new book, The Authentic Australian Evangelist, Alan Walker. Former Superintendent Alan Walker was once labelled the conscience of the nation, speaking out for the marginalised and the broken across social, political and international debate. Alan's life and work at Wesley Mission is also featured in an address by Keith Garner on DVD. For more information, call 1800 021 821 or visit our website wesleymission.org.au.
And if you'd like to know more about Deborah, details, indeed the whole show, will be online all this week. Mick, we're back talking, and you open that envelope and
Yes.
you learn your family is going to break up.
Yes. So I got extremely hurt, and that hurt plunged me onto a search. And in that search, I wanted to know what was good, bad, right, wrong, true, false, because I had no real concept of these things because of the irreligious background that I was brought up in.
So eventually you make a conscious Christian commitment, but
Yes.
that takes you eventually into very, very different kind of places. Let's fast forward a bit. You find yourself
Yes.
in Manila,
Yes.
in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Very difficult living in slum conditions there. What did you learn from that?
Well, there was a key thing that we learnt, and that is that you've got to know people by name. And so I'll never forget the first Christmas Eve that we had there, and we were trying to get to sleep amongst all the rats and the vermin and so on. And I was awoken one night by rocks hitting our plywood shack, and I thought, what the heck is this? So I grabbed Ruby, my wife, and our 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 9-month, and I prized open one of our walls, just made out of plywood, and I saw this group of guys throwing rocks at our house. And I thought, you know, what's going on? But Ruby and I prayed for protection. We survived the night. But I also prayed that I would get to know one of those guys out there. And so the following day I had to do language lessons, and we did our language lessons on the street. And I saw 2 guys walking towards me one day, and so I parked my skin bag in front of them, and basically I said, what are your names? And one guy said his name was Richard. And then several weeks later, the same guy, Richard, came knocking on my door, and we got to know each other. And I found out that he lived in a hole in the ground, a literal hole in the ground. So, yeah.
So Richard becomes, in a way, a byword. It becomes, when you hear that name, it becomes an opener to what will eventually lead you into lots of other continuous commitment towards such people.
Because he came knocking at my door, and we started to do life together, and we did many years together. And eventually he came to know this Jesus that I had discovered. And what I then found out was that he was one of the gang members that was throwing the rocks onto our house. And today, Richard is a Methodist pastor in the Philippines, and pouring his life into others.
Now, you talk about Jesus very much as the person who would be the teacher, the mentor of our lives, really.
Yeah.
How important is that when you're involved in ministry that takes you to the heart of people who are living on the edge?
Well, when I look at the life of Jesus, you know, there's this example in John chapter 4 where he meets a woman at the well. And what I like about Jesus, he has real street smarts, so he knows how to work with people on the streets. And so he strikes up this conversation, and he can tell that there are issues in her life. But he doesn't go straight to these issues. I mean, he hits the pause button. And so he gives her plenty of room to move. But later on, he basically says to her, hey, look, there are some serious issues in your life that you've got to deal with. But I love the way that he does it. I mean, with Jesus, he knows that he has 3 things for him. That, you know, he's a guy, he's a rabbi, he's a Jew. This is in the context of the day. But he knows that in her context, you know, she's a woman, she's a Samaritan, and every guy in her village knows her phone number. So he knows that in the society of the day, and we don't agree with it, but these are realities, she's got 3 things against her, and he's got 3 things for him. So, yeah.
Let me just pick that up just to conclude and say that you've written about this in your book. What's the one message that you really are passionate above all else about? What's the one thing what you've learned through all these experiences with people that the Christian church...
I mean, for me, the thing that ricochets around in my heart is to have a heartbeat for the 100th person. Jesus said that you've got to leave the 99 and go to the 1. 99 plus 1 equals 100. There are people in our worlds that when they sit alone. And I believe that we've got to leave the 99 and go and sit with people when they sit alone. And I mean, Keith, look, when I got involved in this whole Christian thing, there was a guy who poured his life into me. And then when I went to the slums of Manila, I got alongside and poured my life into that guy called Richard. Today, Richard is now getting alongside people and pouring his lives into other people. That has got to be the best revolution in town. And for the life of me, I think, who's not to want to be a part of this?
Great, you're excited. And that really is so important. Mick, The next stage we'd say, as I conclude, is you've actually shared something of that passion with us that all comes from those relationships. Yeah. God bless you.
Yeah,
in your ministry in Auckland and your bigger ministry than just in Auckland. We're going to be back in just a moment.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Rev Dr Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Reverend Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Today we highlight Wesley Mission's heart to come alongside up-and-coming young people with all their hopes and dreams of the future and how it seems so far away. Our youth services in Newcastle support young people from 12 to 25. Here's Alicia's story.
My name's Alicia. When I was 8, I slept in a bus shelter. That was when I was first in the streets. I decided to leave after pretty much being violated in my own bedroom by mysterious people who I wouldn't really know. That was really hard on me, so I ended up jumping from my mate's houses, couch surfing and going back home every now and then to get more clothes, getting away from my mum. And it was off and on until I was about 16. And when I was 16, I was living with my dad and my stepmum at the time. I ended up leaving there because after I left there, I was in the Nexus ward for really high depression and nearly committing suicide. This place used to be my winter home when I was in the streets. I used to put a candle up here for a bit of light here, and in the corner down there, I used to put another candle there with a pillow on the corner there with a blanket at the bottom and a sleeping bag. When I used to live here, I used to think, am I going to wake up? Am I going to get woken up in the middle of the night by a stranger? Or am I going to die because of not enough warmth for my blankets or clothes?
I met Alicia when she was about 16. She would come here with friends, but she didn't engage straight away. She would come in, you say hi, and how you going, do you need any help? She'd go, no, I don't need any help. You know, so it took, and I think it was a trust thing. And so when we finally built up some rapport, she started to tell her story. Basically, her mum is an alcoholic. Alicia didn't have the boundaries or I guess the love and care that you'd normally would want in a family, and she was kicked out of home and shoved around to do Western Australia to other relatives, you know, so she was basically unwanted by her mother, and I guess that's why she ended up on the streets.
I was struggling to get accommodation because I was living in refuges when I was pregnant. I was ringing up different refuges and all that sort of stuff. I always got thrown back because it was either too many people were in there and there's not enough room, or I wasn't the correct category because I was too old to go to a youth refuge, or I was too young to go to an adult refuge. One of the things I've learnt with Wesley Mission that you can succeed, doesn't matter who you are, and you've always got someone to talk to here that's always supportive. I feel happier. I feel like I can achieve more. So that's why I'm going to try going back to TAFE. When I think of Wesley Mission, I think of hope, happiness, support. Wesley means to me my life. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't be here.
On this fourth Sunday of Advent, Christmas is so close. And we find the angel announcing to Mary that she is to bear a child who is Messiah. It's no wonder that Mary quakes in her boots in the presence of such a messenger, and even more when she receives such a message. However, she has the courage to ask how it's going to be. And she's told it will be the work of the Holy Spirit. It will fulfill the great prophetic line from David. And Elizabeth, her relative, is also to give birth to a child in her older age. All of this is followed by that wonderful verse, for nothing is impossible with God. Mary offers herself to God and as a servant. And there's an encounter with Elizabeth following Mary's greeting. And what follows is what we know as the Magnificat, one of the great passages of Scripture that I read to you from Luke chapter 1. And Mary said, "My soul glorifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Saviour. For he's been mindful of the humble state of his servant. From now on, all generations will call me blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me. Holy is his name. His mercy extends to those who fear him from generation to generation. He's performed mighty deeds with his arm. He's scattered those who are proud in their inmost thoughts. He's brought down rulers from their thrones. He's lifted up the humble. He's filled the hungry with good things. He's sent the rich away empty. He's helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he promised our ancestors." Look, what a wonderful thing. As we light that fourth candle, we're very conscious of this wonderful song that has often been referred to as one of the great revolutionary songs of all time. You have that combination of powerful words and the beauty of the language of Luke. G.B. Caird called it an account of the blessedness of faith. It speaks of the humility which Mary will display throughout her whole life. It speaks, as we know, of the mercy of God. His mercy extends. It speaks of the proud who will be scattered, those who are scattered in their inmost thoughts, those proud people. It speaks about rich people being sent away. And finally, it concludes with an historic reference to the people of Israel and the call to be merciful. We've talked today in the programme to someone whose ministry and work is alongside the poor, and that's so important that we recognise that. You see, the poor became a byword eventually for those who were faithful. It's hard really because we don't do that, but we certainly understand that that's what happens. The poor are those people who are faithful, who've got nothing else to trust except their faithfulness. They trust in God alone for deliverance and vindication. Jesus manifests this hope, which will reverse the fortunes for all time and bring about a profound revolution of the heart, which, when demonstrated, will change everything. You know, it's a wonderful thing. As we approach Christmas, let's not really just get taken in with all that would consume us in this season. Let's spare a thought for the fact that when God came into this world, he came in the powerful message of a young woman who speaks of the needs of the world and the impact of that message and that love and that grace which can so change the very nature of the world.
If you would like to know more about today's topic or for more on Keith's message, contact Keith by writing to Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235. or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. We leave you with Steve McPherson singing that wonderful Christmas carol, The First Noel. Now join us on Christmas Day at the usual time with our special guest and performer, Damien, a great programme to look forward to. Goodbye and God bless you.
Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay. In fields where they lay keeping their sheep, on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, Noel, holy is the Lord. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far, and to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued both day